Test, test, test. Mm, okay, we have a few minutes, everyone, so I'm not going to start. Okay, I think we're ready to begin. We have a nice group. Nice group. David, good to see you. I hope I said hello to everybody. That's what very important. Oh, you came in late. Shabbat Sholom. Good. I know, we're beginning right now. Shabbat peace, everyone. Let's get in a good mood. I want everybody to sing, relax, think of the good things in life, gratitude. That's the huge key. And we will have a very nice gathering. So please rise. Jocelyn, you're on for the candle lighting.
Asher kitshanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu lehadlich ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Please be seated, everyone, as we continue with Yedid Nefesh, page 8.
Yedid Nefesh Avarachaman Meshach Avdach Eretz Onach Yarutz Avdach Kemo Ayar Yishtachaveh El Moladorach Ki Yeravlo Yedidotach Minofet Sof V'chol Tam Adonai Ziv Haolam Nafshi cholat avatzach Ana elna lefanaya ve'arot la noam zivach אז תתחזק ותתרבה והיצלח שפחת עולם ירדאי ירדאי רי 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 ירדאי רי 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 ירדאי רי 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 ירדאי רי רי ירדאי רי 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 ירדאי רי 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 Yada rai 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 yada rai 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 yada rai 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 yada rai rai yada rai yada rai 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 yada rai 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 yada rai 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 yada rai rai yada rai yada rai 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 rai.
We think of Shabbat as not only a time of peace, but to our dear ancestors, especially to the mystics, it was a time of love, of being in love with life. Have we ever had those moments where we just thank God that we are alive? And that's why it was the tradition of the Kabbalists to recite the Song of Songs, the love poetry, to celebrate the love of Shabbat, the love of God, the love of each other. So on page 7, in honor of the love of life, let's read these beautiful passages from the opening of Shir HaShirim, the Song of Songs. Let's read together. The Song of Songs of Solomon. May he kiss me with the kisses of his mouth, for your love is sweeter than wine. How sweet smelling your ointments, how like finest oil your name. How maidens so love you. Pull me toward you, let us run together. Let the King bring me to his chambers. We shall rejoice and delight in your love. We shall savor your love more than wine, for your love is true of each other and of God. Love is what it's about. Page 9. L'chuna ranana.
L'chuna ranana Adonai Nariya letzo yishenu Nekadma fanav betodah Bizmirah nariya lo
Arba'im shana kutto.
Arba'im shana kut vedor V'omaram to'e levavim V'em lo yadeu derachai Asher nishbati be'avi Im yevon el menuchati
Page 12, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash.
Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash Shiru Ladonai kol haaretz Shiru Ladonai v'archu shemo Asru miyom leyom Yeshuato Sabru v'goyim kevodo Echol ha'amim nifleotav Ki gadol Adonai Umulal meod Nora'u Al kol Elohim Ay 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 Ki kol Elohim Ha'amim elilim Va'adonai shamayim asa Hod ve'adar lefanav Oze tiferet be'mikdasho Avul Adonai mishlechot amim Avul Adonai kavod va'oz Avul Adonai kevod shemo Seo mincha Uva'u lechatzrotav Ay 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 ishtachavu l'Adonai Be'adar kodesh Chilu mipanav kol haaretz Imru v'goyim Adonai malach Aftikon tevel ba'al timot Yadin amim b'mei sharim Yismechu hashamayim v'tzagel haaretz Yeramayam umelo Yalo sadai V'chol asher bo Ay 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 Az yeranenu kol atzeya Al lifnei Adonai Kiva Lishbot haaretz Yishbot tevel ve'tzedek Ve'amim ve'emunato Yanai yarai rai yarararai Yai rai rai yai Yai rai 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 Yai rai rai yai Yai rai rai rai
Page 22. Last 3 lines. Romamu. May we be uplifted with the Lord our God.
Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu behar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu behar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו.
Page 24, מזמור לדוד.
מזמור לדוד, הבו לאדוני בנעילים, הבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז, איי איי איי, הבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, השתחוו לאדוני בהדרת קודש, כל אדוני על המים אל הכבוד ירים, אדוני על מים רבים, כל אדוני בכוח, איי איי איי, כל אדוני בהדר, כל אדוני שובר ארזים, וישבר אדוני את ארזי הלבנון, וירקידם כמו עגל לבנון, וסריון כמו בין רימים, איי איי איי, כל אדוני חוצה זבות אש, כל אדוני יחיר מדבר, יחיר אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני יחלל איילות, ויחשוף יערות ובכלו כולו אומר כבוד, איי איי איי, אדוני למה בו ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם, אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום, יאי די די די, יאי די די די, יאי די די די, יאי די 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 די.
Before we continue with Lechadodi, we turn to page 25 in the lower part of the left side. We're going to read the poetry from the great Spanish Jewish poet Shlomo ibn Gabirol. He was such a revered figure in Spain in the 11th century. And when you go to Malaga, if you've ever been there, the main statue in the center of town is a statue of Solomon ibn Gabirol, known for his religious poetry from his Jewish side and his secular poetry. So let's read his beautiful words in the English translation. Together, you are the celestial light. Innocent eyes see you. Clouds of sin hide you. You are the hidden light of this world, revealed in visions, glimpsed on the mountain of the Lord. You are the light of the world. The mind's eye searches for and seeks. Only an aspect can ever be seen, never all. We get glimpses of God, not all. Lechadodi, page 26.
לחדודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. 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 שמר וזכר ודיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם תפארת לצילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקרב ברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, טוב נעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קום יצאי תוך ההפיכה, רב לך שבט עמק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך אמרה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Last stanza, page 28.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Please be seated. We say Shabbat Sholom. Please turn to your neighbors. Let's welcome everyone. Take a pause. Let's just hold it with the guitar. We have some guests here. Can you introduce yourself to the? Yeah, sure you are.
I'm Helen.
Helen, nice to have you in our Hebrew class on Friday. But you're here, members. Can we introduce ourselves to our guests?
I'm Stacy.
Stacy and Stephen. Pleasure to have you. Shabbat Shalom. We know you're here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Of course, the Liechtensteins are very good, so want to make sure. Do we have any other guests here? James, we know you already, old timer. My class on Tuesday nights, which is really great. Okay, I think we got everyone. Everybody have a wonderful day, peaceful day. Take the stress and throw it out the window. So that's what it's all about. Very good. Let's turn to the Shabbat Psalm, the last verses, the last lines on page 31, middle of the page. Sadi Katama Yifra.
Sadi Katama Yifra, Ke'erez Balevanon, Yizkeh Shedorim, Beveit Adonai, Bechatzrot Eloheinu, Yafrichu, Od Yenuvon Neseva, Deshainim Verananim, Leagi, Ki Yashar Adonai Tzori, Velo Avlatavu.
Page 32, Adonai Malaki with Lavesh. Lavesh Adonai Osi Tazar. Afti Konti Vel Baltimot. Kosiat Miaz Milamata. Sunat Adonai.
Sunat Kolam.
Tochiam. Mikolo.
מכל מים רבים אדירים משברי Yadir v'marom Adonai, et techanenu meod, leveitecha na'ava kodesh, Adonai leorech yamim.
We pause before the evening service. For those who are remembering yard sites, those in mourning will rise now for the Kaddish Tom on page 33. Together. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, v'yamad yivarach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei t'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kariv v'yimeru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach, le'olam elomei maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnasei, v'yitada v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei dekudusha b'richu, le'ela min kol bechata b'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, Huyaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Please be seated. And a little pause before we begin the evening services. We've dissected, for those who have been here, two of the prayers from the Friday night service, and because of popular acclaim, we're going to continue that. We recite the Kiddush. We get memorize the words very easily, recite it every Friday night. But let's look at the content of the text. Please turn to page 64. Page 64 for the Kiddush. So we are all very familiar with the beautiful blessing over the glass of wine. First of all, the word Kiddush means sanctification. Kadosh, 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 holy, holy. The idea of holiness is to bring God to earth and earth to God. That's why we lift our feet when we recite the words of kadosh, 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 and the kedusha, kedusha. That word is a very important one, but the common element, and now there are some things that are referred to in kadosh, such as the kiddush, that begins our Shabbat and our sanctified holidays. We also have the word kiddushin, which is the Hebrew word for marriage, love, kadosh. Also have the kaddish, the mourner's sanctification, if you will, that we recite at yard sites and when we're in mourning. And also the kedusha, as I mentioned, which can only be recited. The key here is this: can only be recited if you have a minyan, if you have the group. You do not recite the kedusha by yourself. And that is the link of all the kadoshuses. I don't know if that's a word. All the sanctifications have to be joined with other people. So the kiddush is about being with family and friends and community. And we recite Mourner's Kaddish with a minyan, because when we're mourning, we are not alone. When we're celebrating a wedding, the chuppah is open at the side because we celebrate with all. You cannot have a Jewish wedding without witnesses, without the group with us. And the same for the Kiddush. So you see the connection here. And in Judaism, the ultimate holiness is when we are joined to each other. That's the first part of the word Kiddush. I could give you the origins of Kiddush. It's very interesting, but that would distract us. So the very first word, Savrei, and you know the tradition is to recite L'chaim after that. Savrei means attention, please. Although it's with your permission, it's very hard to translate. It's very interesting where that came from. We don't know exactly. It's customary. It's not technically required. But it's very interesting. One of the major theory is that during the Middle Ages, when Jews drank wine, they didn't know if they were going to be poisoned by the wine. So the custom developed that when we recite the Kiddush, we hope and pray that this wine will bring us life, and not death. We're a culture of life. So it's a very interesting, we don't know that for sure, but it's a very important part of why we say L'chaim. to life, for life and never for death. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech you know the blessing, Borei Pri Hagafen, God creates the fruit of the vine. That verb, borei, can only be used for God. It's unique to the Hebrew language. There are two words for creating something, yatzar and bara, but when it refers to God's creation, we only use borei. When it refers to our creation, we make a car, we make whatever it is, we say yotzer, yotzer. Sometimes it's referred to, there are biblical texts that use that for God, but it's very interesting nuance. But in the case of the blessing, Borei Pri Hagafen. Of course, God creates the grapes, and we humans make the wine. And that is a very important part of why we recite this blessing, because we are sanctifying the holiness of the partnership between God and us. God creates, and then when we fill God's holiness in what we do, we make wine or grape juice, whatever, sanctified. And we have this partnership that we're celebrating with. We drink every drop of wine. The same for breaking bread. God creates the sheaves, the wheat, and we make the bread. Partnership, partnership. What Christianity did with those two symbols, you have to come on Tuesday at 2 o'clock to hear more about all that. Now, it's very interesting. There was a dispute. Rabbis always fought each other. Machloket. About the arrangement of the blessings here. Because there's two things sanctified, the blessing over the grape, the wine, and the blessing over creation. Rabbi Shammai believed that the latter part of the Kiddush should have been recited first, and the blessing over the grape or the wine should have been recited after. Rabbi Hillel is the rabbi that we go according to in the text that we have. So what's very interesting, why did Rabbi Shammai want to emphasize creation over wine? And he said very simply, the big part of Shabbat is really about God's creation. And then the grape comes after the fact. And Hillel said, no, because the poor of Israel could not afford to buy wine, we have to emphasize the importance of bringing everyone into Shabbat, including the poor of Israel, have this dignity on Shabbat. And so therefore, we recite the blessing of the wine first, and then we talk about God's creation, which is a very beautiful opening to how we communicate with God, is the way in which we relate to other people, and especially those who are lonely, disenfranchised, and who have less than we do. So it's very interesting how all that developed. Of course, Louis Ginsburg, who I had the opportunity of studying his work at great length, he was a great professor of rabbinics at the seminary. His whole theory was that this was because Hillel came from a poor background and Shammai came from the wealthy class of Israel, and so he took wine for granted. Everybody's got wine. And Hillel said, no, that's not the case. And that's how much of our Jewish tradition, that's what's so fascinating here, much of how our Jewish tradition developed in that way. There are two major themes in the text, as you can see here. We can look at the English, Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, who desired us and sanctified us through mitzvot, who lovingly and willingly bestowed on us Shabbat, a measure of God's holiness, a sign of Breshit, creation. For this is the first of sacred times. It's also, what does it say? A symbol of the exodus from Egypt. So there's two themes brought together here. God's creation as well as the exodus from Egypt. And what is the reason for that? In the first version of the Ten Commandments that we just read last week, if you look at the fourth commandment about keeping Zachorat Yom HaShabbat, remembering the Sabbath day, it emphasizes, you can look up the verses there. I think it's chapter 20, verse 10 or 11. It emphasizes God's creation as the purpose of Shabbat. But if you read the Ten Commandments in the version of the book of Deuteronomy, the fifth chapter of the book of Deuteronomy, it emphasizes the relationship of the exodus from Egypt, especially remember those who are disenfranchised, the slave and the stranger, etc. And so, because that's the reason why we light 2 candles. Because in the book of Exodus it says, remember the Sabbath day. And in the book of Deuteronomy it says, keep the Sabbath day. That's why we have 2 candles to remember the sanctity of both passages of Shabbat. And the rabbis wove together the 2 themes from the 10 Commandments into the Kiddush. So when you recite that, just, the words are quite meaningful and quite beautiful. It says in the text, Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh, that the Shabbat is the beginning, the most sacred of all of the holy festivals, Mikra Kodesh. And that's an important reminder there that the Shabbat is the most important celebration, holiday. It's not Chag, but the most sanctified day on the Jewish calendar, even above Yom Kippur. It is the great day. Ki hu yom techila zecher litziat Mitzrayim, as I mentioned there. And of course, God has given us this great gift, Kivanu v'charta. God has chosen us to bear the meaning of Shabbat, which has revolutionized the world in terms of the dignity of human beings. And to finish with one last thought about the Kiddush, you can read the rest of the text. It is the ultimate commandment to recite the Kiddush where? At our dinner tables. Before I came here, we had dinner early. I recited the Kiddush at the dinner table. So the question is, why do we recite the Kiddush in the synagogue? This is where some historical reality comes into play. It's because the synagogues, back in the days of the Talmudic, the rabbinic period, the Mishnaic period, 2,000 years ago, the synagogue was a place where strangers came for Shabbat, and they plopped down, they lodged in the synagogue for the night and spent the day of Shabbat. So, because this was the place of their residence for Shabbat, the tradition began to recite the Kiddush in the synagogue. And that's where it comes from. And the custom continued and is incorporated in every traditional, at least traditional service on Friday night. Both at home we recite and as well in the synagogue. So I hope this gives you a little insight into the Kiddush. We're going to do Vishamru next week. Okay, let's now continue, everyone, with the Baruch Hu on page 45. Please rise.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Seated, our blessing and praise of God's creation. Baruch atah Adonai, please be seated. Vidam shnetim agazmanim. Bore yom v'layla. There's that verb again. Mavir yomi v'layla. Lavikayam timim v'laylam b'hem.
Mavir yom u'mevir layla. Mavdir ven yom v'layla. Adonai tzevot shemo. El chai v'kayam. Tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv v'aravim.
Amen. Page 47, the gift of Torah, Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha avta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu v'shachvenu ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו, ויארך ימינו, ובנגי יומם ולילה, נגי יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Amen. The Shema together on page 48. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'yahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשופך ובקומך, וקשתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. Page 49. The Shema continues. ונתתי יסף, תשמרו לכם, וכתבתם לי אמרתם שתפו לכם, בחרתם לבכם ושמיים ולמטר, ושמתם את דברי אלה, וגם ויאפשרתם אותם להיות על ידכם. תמון זבתכם תקשרו למען יבוא ימיכם וניחם על המשמעותיכם ולתיכם שמיים על הארץ, ויאמר אדוני משה לאמור. והילכתם את ציצרם את יעשם ושפתם ושמתם. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמן.
Verse 51.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים בני ישראל לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא תהילות הספר מלכותך ראו בניך בוקי הים לפני משה זה אלי אנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי יפדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. Our prayer for peace. Silence and think of the blessing that we have when we have shalom. Page 53. Ashkivein.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים ושמור צאתנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם ועד עולם ועד עולם השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו.
הבורא סוכת שלום לעמו על כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Amen. Please rise, everyone. Praise of Shabbat, page 54.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. איי 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 ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש.
Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה על מריבה קירותי והמליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ועולמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויפר ויתמם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כה בחטא ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן.
Our private and our silent devotion of the Amidah for Friday night, for Shabbat Eve, begins on page 55, prayers through page 61, and our private devotion as well. Adonai Sfatat Yiftach, Afi Agit Le'atech Yon Baruch Yon Baruch Atah Adonai. Samech noflim v'rofech cholim v'aser asrim kayim atol shni afar ata kitash tat yomesh v'ishmech v'maseh shmo v'yishboho v'yomesh kol v'lasas Grant abundant and lasting peace to your people Israel and all who dwell on earth. For you are the sovereign master of all the ways of peace. May it please you to bless your people Israel at all times with the greatest gift of all, the gift of shalom. Baruch atah Adonai blesses your people Israel with peace. Shalom Rav, page 60. Yisrael Amcha Ilyolam Shalom Ra Yisrael Amcha Yolam Yolam The top of page 62, Vayechulu Hashemayim. Shmoto, Kivon Shabbat, Mikol Melachto, Mikol Melachto, Bara Elohim, Shebara Elohim, Lasso, Magen Avot. Varo mechayem beitim b'mamaro el hakadosh she'en mohu ameniach le'amo yom Shabbat kodsho v'amratza v'haniach lahem lefanav na'avod Yerav v'fachad Tehelishma lishpo yom tamid me'ol habrachot El hodot Adon HaShalom Kadesh HaShabbat Yom Bevarek Shvihi Umeniach B'Kedusha Kedusha Yoneg Maaseh Bereshi, page 63.
Shabbat
Baruch Shemo. Amen. Kaddish Shalem, page 63. Amen. Barichu. Amen. 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 We rise for the Kiddush, page 64. Chachayim. Amen. Yom Techila Kodesh Zechel Yitziat Mitzrayim Kivanu Vachata Yotanu Kidashta Mikol Ha'amim V'Shabbat Kodshecha Yahava Uvratzon in Chaltanu. Amen.
Chaim.
Always, l'chaim. Aleinu l'shabeach, page 65.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שעונות השמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד. על כן נקבל
על כן נקבתך אדוני אלוהינו. יכירו ויתקוש ותבל, ישבע כל לשון לפניך אלוהינו יכלו ויפולו.
ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated, everyone. We bid farewell this week to Elaine Rothberg, a longtime member of our congregation. We send our condolences to Felicia, her daughter, and her husband, Gary. And we also note the passing of Dr. Jack Block, passed away this week, and we wish Danielle Beat, I'm not sure how she pronounces her last name, her daughter and the rest of the family, our sincere condolences. We also note the art sites. Remember this week, last week of the month of Shvat, we remember Margaret Fleet, Rose Chernov, Keith Desenberg, Pearl Hoffman, Fanny Wolf, Arthur Bloomberg, Riva Melamud, Shirley Goldenberg, Florence Bernstein, Harry Schmerl, Herman Haspel, George Freund, Max Goldberg, Elsie Gumpert, Alexander Kozik-Senderova, Isidore Sherman, Gertrude Rafer Heferis, Stanley Swartz, Sadie Levine, Alan Lichtenstein, Hyman Meltz, Morton Natkin, Alan Portnoff, Oscar Bodenstein, Florence Ritter-Schmidt, Chaim Hadida, Marie Cohen Hadida, Carl Rothman, Lillian Wolf, Ann E. Schwartz, Lillian Green, Anna Winternitz, Helen Weinberg, Erwin Losch, Gerhard Singer, George L. Hoffman, Nathan Zarkovsky, all of blessed memory. To those who are remembering yard sites and those who are in mourning will now rise together and as well at home for the Kaddish Tom to affirm our belief in everlasting love. They are not to be ever forgotten, our dear ones. And so together with that, we recite the Kaddish, the sanctification with all of us. Together, Yid Gadal v'Yid Gadash Shemei Rabbah v'Yomad Yivarach Yerutei v'Yamlich Malchutei v'Chayechon v'Yomechon uv'Chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael v'Agala v'Zman Kariv v'Imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Elam Elomei Omaya Yiparach v'Yishtabach v'Yitpa'ar v'Yitromam v'Yitnaseh v'Yitadar v'Yitalev v'Yitalal Shemei Kudusha Barichu La'ela Min Kol Bechata V'Shirata Tush Bechata V'Nechamata Damiran V'Yalma V'Imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chayim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen. Ose Shalom Bimromav Uyase Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen. May peace be upon their memory and their love forever. Amen. Our announcements, Dan Mitchell.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Always a pleasure to see our regular Friday night stalwarts and our newer members and all of the guests who are here this weekend. Tomorrow morning, we do have a baby naming during services for Aryeh Maidenbaum and Diane Rubin's grandchild. So that should be an exciting time for us. Bima baskets this Shabbat are sponsored by Dr. Gene Ginsberg in honor of the birthday of his wife Anne, and Martha and Bruce Zarkowski in memory of Bruce's father Nathan Zarkowski. On the Muzzle Tub scene, we wish Rabbi Mimi Wiesel celebrating being honored by the Jewish Theological Seminary with an honorary doctorate of divinity degree for serving 25 years as a rabbi. Tomorrow morning after services, a program called Delicate Dilemmas After Kiddush in the Idelson Library, moderated by Rabbi Ed Weinsberg. Titled this Shabbat of the discussion is Defying the Angel of Death by Confronting Our Mortality. I'd like to know how he does that, but maybe we'll find out.
Every day.
And then Sunday, this weekend, Sunday afternoon, a program, the movie Resistance, They Fought Back, with Paula Apsel, who is the writer and director and a member of our congregation, at 3 o'clock for those who have made reservations. Otherwise, reservations are closed. Most of the rest of our programs, if you take this home, read the little print, put on your magnifying glass, and mostly everything that we're doing in the next few weeks is listed there. One thing I want to point out is the TBS goes to the opera for the third consecutive season. Where's Eric? Fourth consecutive season. It's scheduled for March 5th, 7:30 p.m. at the Opera House. The opera is The Barber of Seville, and if you are interested, you need to contact the Sarasota Opera House to purchase your tickets. Tell them they are with TBS, and if you have any questions about it, please see Eric, Dr. Eric Ferber, who will be able to answer all your questions. And then in a couple of weeks, we have our Scholar in Residence weekend coming up with Dr. Jacob Wright, the weekend of March 7, 8, and 9. The topics of his discussions are printed here. And just a reminder that there is a dinner Friday night, 6 p.m. with an early service. And if you're interested in making reservations for the dinner, registration is required by February 26th. I think I have everything covered there. So again, just wishing everybody a Shabbat Shalom, and take this home with you because you can use that for easy reference.
Thank you, Stan. Thank you, Stan. Just a reminder for those of you who have been attending our Tuesday afternoon 4-part series with the Reverend Blythe and the Lutheran Church, St. Armand's Key Lutheran Church. We're going to be here at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. There was a little switch in the calendar because they have massive construction problems at the church, and they asked us to take this class, and probably the last one as well, but we'll keep you posted on that. So please come. Let's conclude now with Yigdal, which can be found on page 71.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח נמצא בעיני תל מציאותו אחד אין יחיד כייחודו נעלם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף לא נערוך אליו קדושתו קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא ראשון לראשית לראשיתו הינו אדון עולם וכל אוצר יודע גדולתו ומלכותו שפע נבואתו נתנו אל אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו לא קם מישראל כמו שעוד נביא ומביט את אמונתו תורת ונתן להמואל על יד נביאה נדן ביתו לא יחליף האל ולא ימיר דלתו לעולמי לזולתו צופה ויודע סתרנו מביא לסוף דבר וקדמתו גומל לאיש חסד כמפעלו נותן לרשע רע כרשעתו ישלח לקץ ימין משיחנו לפדות מחיקי ישועתו מתים יחייל לרוך עשו ארוך עדי עד שם תהילתו מתים יחייל לרוך עשו ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good day.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.